Hi guys, this is Deepakshi, your social science educator at Unacademy. So welcome to 8th, 9th and 10th channel of Unacademy and welcome to 10th Live Daily, wherein we are going to complete the entire chapter of power sharing today. So basically at the end of this particular session, you will be up with like 5 to 8 marks for your board exams. They will be saved absolutely into your pockets. So before starting, let me quickly give a brief introduction about myself. So my name is Deepakshi Maini and I am a BCom Honors graduate from Delhi University with more than 5 years of teaching experience. And here I am with all of you and for all of you. So for those of you who haven't joined the Telegram channel for now, quickly go and join it because you are surely going, you're surely missing on a lot of things by not joining this channel. So all you guys need to do is to download the Telegram app and type down livedaily.me/chat from where you can join the 9th and 10th channel and you will be notified for each and every session by various educators. And then you guys can also join the Unacademy Learning app. So quickly go to your Play Store, download the Unacademy Learning app, choose the goal for whichever class you need to join it, and then you people can unlock all the free content which is available on the learning app by using just one referral code, that is DM Live. So this code DM Live is my code, Deepakshi Maini followed by Live, because Live is the platform, and this is to be used as the invite code for joining the application. So now, without any further ado, let us quickly start with this particular chapter, that is power sharing. So in this one, we will be doing the complete revision of the entire chapter. One shot revision. Basically in the next 40 to 50 minutes you will be sorted with all the different questions from this particular chapter. We'll also be discussing the most important 1 marker and 3 marker and 5 marker questions which can possibly come from this particular chapter. And along with that, basically we will be securing approximately 5 to 7 marks for our exams. So board exams, to make it more easier for you guys and so that you people have that confidence within yourself to attempt the paper very nicely, let us now quickly start. Okay, sure. So basically, we'll be starting with the case of Belgium and Sri Lanka. So in this particular chapter, we will be discussing why is power sharing important. Now, like the name suggests already, what is power sharing? When we share powers, like we don't want to have, the concentration of all the powers in the hands of just one person. Rather, we are actually dividing the powers and sharing it amongst different people so that there can be better administration of the country. So we will actually understand why is power sharing important with the help of two cases. One is of Belgium and the other is of Sri Lanka. So let's quickly move forward and see the difference between how these two particular countries dealt with their problems. Okay. So talking about the case of Belgium. So firstly, Belgium is a very small country in Western Europe and it has got a very little population. Basically, approximately 1 crore people live in the country, reside in the country. And if you compare it with any state of India, it is that small that it is as equal as the Indian state of Haryana. Okay. Along with that, it shares its boundaries with France, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg. So basically, north, south, east, west, its boundaries are shared with by these 4 countries. And this can be asked as a 1 marker question in your exam. 1 marker question where they can ask you of which all countries share their boundary with the Belgium country. Now, talking about the composition of the population of Belgium. So from here, the question that can come in your exam for 3 marks is to explain the ethnic composition of Belgium. ठीक है, ethnic composition of Belgium, very frequently asked question for your exam. So hear out very carefully. ठीक है. So talking about Belgium, it's a very small country, but it still has very complex ethnic composition. So 59% are Dutch speaking people which live in the Flemish region of Belgium. 40% are the French speaking people which live in the Wallonia region. So, and the remaining 1% are the German speaking people. So basically the entire country is divided into two parts. One is the Flemish region, one is the Wallonia region. Flemish region basically has 59% of the population, which is Dutch speaking population, and the other region, that is Wallonia region, it has 40% of the population which is French speaking. Baja 8%, that is the German speaking population. Okay. Then the capital of Belgium is Brussels. All right. So now let us understand what do we actually mean by the term ethnic composition first. So ethnic composition is basically a social division which is based on shared culture, wherein the people belonging to one particular place, they share the same culture, same tradition, same language. Okay? They have a lot of similarities of physical type, of culture, or both between them. Okay, now basically talking about the capital city is Brussels. Now Brussels basically has a different kind of ethnic composition in the country. 80% of the people are French speaking and the remaining 20% only are Dutch speaking. Now if you clearly, properly, try to relate both of these, so you will find that the Dutch speaking people are actually in minority in the capital, but they are in majority in the country, right? And now talking about the French community is very rich, very powerful, and they can actually use their power, their money to have an access to all the different type of facilities in the country, like securing the university job positions, education. So with their power, they can actually have an access to all that. Now the Dutch people do not like this. Obviously, who would like it that all the different university job positions, or be it any kind of job, is being secured by the French community? Why? Because they are more powerful, because they have more money, and even if the Dutch speaking people are more deserving, then also they do not get an access to that. So basically this particular thing is resented by the Dutch speaking community. So the period which was between 1950s and 1960s, basically this one entire decade, this had a lot of tension between these two communities, and they were literally getting severe day by day, and they were more severe in the Brussels. Now why Brussels के अंदर इसलिए? Because the Dutch community actually got the benefit of all the developments, all the education, the university job positions in a very very later stage. Initially the French community only was actually given this recognition and given the power to access all those positions. So basically this was really very unjust with the Dutch speaking population, and that was the reason there were a lot of tensions, because the Dutch also wanted to have an access to different developments and education, right? Now basically Brussels presented a very very serious problem. Now what was the problem? We've already discussed it, that the Dutch speaking people were in a majority in the country, but they were in a minority in the capital. Okay, sure. Now this was about the ethnic composition of Belgium. Now talking about the case of Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka is basically an island nation, a very very beautiful country, an island nation which is near the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. And again, Sri Lanka is also not a very very huge country. It has a population of about 200 crores, and just like the other nations in the South Asian region, Sri Lanka also has a very very diverse population. Now talking of India, India also has a very diverse population. Sri also has a very very diverse population, and they have two major social groups. One is the Sinhalese speaking people, and the other is the Tamil speaking people. Now talking about the Sinhala speakers, they constitute of approximately 74% of the entire population, and on the other hand the Tamil speakers are just 18%. So all in all we can say that the Sinhala speakers were in a majority in the country, right? And the Tamil speakers were in a minority. Okay, sure. So now talking about the Tamil population, again, those 18% population was also subdivided into two groups. There were Tamil natives in the country who were called the Sri Lankan Tamils, which were approximately 13% of the population, and the other group were of the Indian Tamils. Now, Indian Tamils actually constituted a 5% of the population. And why were they called Indian Tamils? Because their forefathers actually were from India, who had gone to Sri Lanka as plantation workers during the colonial period, during the time when Britishers were ruling our country. Okay? Sure. Now moving forward, now like I said, Sinhalese were the majority population of the country. 74% of the people were Sinhalese, and the majority of them followed Buddhism. Majority of them followed Buddhism. The Tamil speakers were 18% and they were majorly Hindus and Muslims, and rest 7% of the population were Christians. Okay? They were both Tamil and Sinhala speaking people. Okay? Now we are gonna talk about the different ways in which Sri Lanka and Belgium actually worked upon their problems. That what all ways did they choose to actually try to solve their problems, and were they even able to solve their problems or not? So talking about majoritarianism, this can come, the definition of majoritarianism can come as a 1 mark question in your exam, and overall you can also get a question of writing a note on how Sri Lanka actually dealt with your problems. So 3 marks का question वो भी आ सकता है exam के अंदर. All right. So talk about majoritarianism. Now, whenever you do not understand any particular term in social sciences, always try to break it. Majoritarianism. Now, the word itself basically means rule of majority. Okay? So basically, Sri Lanka actually did not understand the problem in a very in-depth manner. So how did they actually deal with it? Sri Lanka emerged as an independent nation in 1948. Now you can remember it with relating it to India. India got its independence in 1947, and Sri Lanka got its independence the very next year in 1948. Now see, there were two communities. One was majority, that was the Sinhala speaking. So these Sinhala speaking leaders thought that we are a majority. Now we should dominate the government. Now they did not realize the fact that they also have to give, a decent amount of regards to the Tamil speaking people, but they did not do that. They thought that we are a majority and we should possess all the powers. We should be dominating the government. Now, what was the result of this? Results were not very good. Basically, that democratic elected government, they adopted a majoritarian series. Basically, they were thinking all about the majority, disregarding the Tamil speaking people in the community, and all they wanted to do was to establish Sinhala supremacy. They wanted Sinhalas to have an access to all the different things that were there around them. They wanted to foster Buddhism. They only wanted Sinhala speaking people to be educated properly, to have a developed environment around them. So in 1956 there was an act that was passed. An act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language. And with this, what did they do? They disregarded Tamil, but they failed to realize that Tamilians were also a part of their country. Why? Where would they go? Right? So the Tamilians did not like this at all. And moreover, this was not it. There were many other things which were accompanied by this. The Sinhalese were always given preferential treatment. Always, always. They were preferred over the Tamils any day. Matlab, even if the Tamil people were more deserving, then also Tamils would be rejected and the authorities would be given to the Sinhala speaking people. But that's not good, right? That's injustice. So basically, Sinhalese were given all the preferential treatment, all the government jobs were, given to them, university positions were given to them, and simultaneously there was a new constitution which stipulated that the state shall only protect and foster Buddhism. But what about the other religions that were there in the country? What about Hindus? What about Muslims? What about Christians? The Sinhalese people did not pay a heed to them, and they only wanted to protect and to foster Buddhism in the country. But we have to understand that, there should be secularism, there should be freedom of following any religion, and all the religions must be given equal amount of respect. But the case was not so in Sri Lanka. They were only and only focusing on one particular religion, and that was Buddhism. Okay, now moving forward, like I said, what is majoritarianism? A belief that the majority community should only rule the country, that all the powers should be concentrated in the hands of just the majority community, and the minority would be, disregarded. Okay? Okay. Moving forward. Now, obviously, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Yes. So basically, now when everything was being given, to the Sinhalese, everything was in a favor of the Sinhalese. The Sri Lankan Tamils and the Indian Tamils, they were very, very dissatisfied with everything. So gradually, they also started reacting towards it. Obviously, anybody would react, and anybody would want to fight for their rights. So that was exactly what the Sri Lankan Tamils had done back then, because they were also, a part of the country, right? Okay. So there were very many measures which were gradually taken by the Sri Lankan Tamils, because slowly and gradually they started having a feeling of alienation. They started feeling that we are, no more part of the country. And just think about it, a country wherein you have been residing from your very birth, you're born and brought up in that particular country, and all of a sudden everything, is taken away from you. So you are basically abandoned, right? So they had a feeling of alienation amongst themselves, and they felt that the political parties were very, very insensitive towards them, towards their language, towards their culture, and they were only focusing on the Sinhalese language. They were only focusing upon Buddhism. By what about the rest of the religions, the rest of the members who were residing in the country? So this was not a very good agenda which was taken up by the Sinhalese people. But they were doing what they actually got to do, right? So basically, the Sri Lankan Tamils felt that the constitution, the government, and all the policies, they were denying them the equal rights. They were discriminating them against everything. Now, talking about jobs, you talk about jobs, you talk about any opportunities. The Sinhalese people were only given preferences over the Tamilians any day. Okay? And the Sri Lankan Tamils had started to feel that their interests, their desires were actually being ignored. And eventually, that was the case, right? So what did they do? Now, they could not, they also had to like raise their voice against it, right? So they launched many parties, they launched many struggles, and they wanted Tamil language also to be recognized as the official language. They also wanted a regional autonomy. They were like that, okay, if even if you want to keep Sinhalese as a major community, or you want to give powers to that, okay, give us a separate nation, give us a separate regional autonomy, give us powers, with a particular region, and we will be happy. But the Sinhalese people did not want to do anything. They denied all their, they were like, no, we don't want to give you all this. They denied everything. They wanted the Sri Lankan people, Sri Lankan Tamils, they also wanted equal opportunities in securing education and jobs and etc. But they were denied of everything, and their demands were repeatedly denied. Not just once, they demanded for all these things multiple times, but the Sinhalese, the majority government, they did not pay a heed to this. So what happened? By 1980s, there were many political organizations that were being formed, and all of them actually demanded an independent Tamil Elam. Elam is basically a state. So the Tamils now came up with a conclusion that, okay, if you do not want to give powers in Sri Lanka, we are fine with it, but at least give us a separate regional autonomy, at least give us a separate elam, a separate state wherein we can establish ourselves, we can form our own government and rule and administer. Okay, in the northern and the eastern parts of Sri Lanka. But again, the Sinhalese did not agree to that also. Basically, they wanted each and everything for themselves, They did not want to give any powers to the Tamil people. So there were very very strained relationships between the Tamils and the Sinhalas, and that actually resulted in something very very hilarious. It resulted in a civil war. Now what's civil war? Civil war is basically a very very violent conflict between different communities of one particular nation itself. Now this war became so intense that it actually resulted in so much destruction. There were destruction of so much property, so many lives were destroyed, and in fact economy was also being hindered by all this. Okay. And obviously eventually when we fight at a very small level also, when these siblings fight, that is also not a very good idea to be taking forward. So think about how destructive would it be to carry on such a huge fight at the country level. It was very 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 destructive. It killed thousands of people. There were many refugees left in the country, and there were बहुत ज़्यादा severe loss of social, cultural and economic life in the country. And the civil war actually ended in the year 2009. Just imagine, this war continued for such a long period of time, draining all the financial resources of the country, draining all the the entire culture of the country. Everything was destroyed and ruined. Okay. So basically, why did this actually happen? This happened because the leaders of the particular majority community failed to understand that even the minority communities were to be given equal rights and equal opportunities. Understood? Chal. Now moving forward, now let's understand how did actually Belgium deal with this problem. So see how the agenda that Belgium took up was exactly opposite to that of Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan people did not understand the importance of sharing the powers, but that did not happen in Belgium. Belgium leaders actually understood that it was very very important for all the people to be respected. It was very important for all the different communities to have equal opportunities and equal rights. So even this can come as a 3-marker question in the paper, asking how did the Belgian people solve its problem. Okay. So the Belgian leaders took altogether a very very different path. They recognized that there was existence of regional and cultural differences. They understood that there were different regions and there were different communities. Different communities had different cultural preferences. Now their cultures, their traditions, their rituals were different, and it was very very difficult for all of them to actually abide by the traditions and cultures of one particular community. But why would they do that, right? They would never want to do that. So the Belgium leaders understood that particular thing, and between the years of 1970 and 1993 there were 4 constitutional amendments that took place. 4 times the constitution was amended so that everybody, all the people who were residing in the entire country could live together harmoniously. They could live together peacefully, and that there were no conflicts between the different people of the nation. Okay. Chalo. So let us now understand that what were the elements of this Belgium model. So in the constitution, basically the constitution had prescribed that there should be equal number of Dutch speaking ministers and French speaking ministers in the central government. Central government के अंदर the number of Dutch speaking and French speaking ministers should be same. So basically both the communities came together. The French speaking and the Dutch speaking, they joined hands and they realized that okay, no single community should make the decisions unilaterally. Okay, they should both combine, sit together harmoniously, discuss, talk, and then come to a conclusion and then take decisions together. Right? All right. So many powers of the central government were also now given to the state government. They actually decentralized the powers. They thought that okay, all the powers should not be concentrated in the hands of just the central government. We should also give certain powers to the state government. So now basically the state government had become independent of the central government. The state government was no more a subordinate to the central government, was no more under the central government. The state government did not have to listen to all the rules and regulations which were forced upon by the central government. And again, this was about Belgium. Now there was a separate government in Brussels also. So in Brussels, again, see, the Dutch speaking people took a step forward and, they gave a hand to the French speaking community to be friends with them. So now the French community thought that, okay, we should also take a step further because they had a majority in the capital city. So now the French speaking people came one step forward. They joined hands with the Dutch speaking community, and it was decided that both the communities, the French speaking and the Dutch speaking, would have equal number of representatives even in the Brussels. Okay. So now there's another important feature of the Belgian model, that there was a third kind of government. Now the third kind of government was the community government. Community government, what was it? See, community government was basically a government of all the different communities. The French speaking community had one government, the Dutch speaking community had one government, the German speaking community had one government. So basically it was based upon the different languages that were spoken by different communities. Okay. So this particular government was also elected by the people belonging to that particular language community. Dutch speaking had one government, French speaking had one government, German speaking had one government, no matter where they lived. But they could actually elect, their representatives who would form the community government. Now the question comes, what would be the task for this community government? So the community government was to actually take care of all the administrative related issues, all the language related issues. Basically everything was to be sorted at a basic level so that we do not have any conflicts between the different communities. Okay. Chalo. So now, basically, another question that can come in your exam is that what was the actual difference between the case of Belgium and the case of Sri Lanka? So basically, in Belgium, there was unity in the country, and the leaders actually realized that all the people could only come together when their feelings are respected, when their interests, their desires, their aspirations are taken care of, and hence the result of that was mutually accepted arrangements for power sharing. At one place, the Dutch speaking community bowed their heads, at the other place, the French speaking community bowed their heads, and they both came together and worked together for harmony. But that was not the case in Sri Lanka. Now the unity of Sri Lanka was actually crippled and crushed like a piece of paper and thrown in the dustbin. So basically, okay, give me just 1 second, my pen fell down. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yes, so basically, the unity of the country was crushed like a piece of paper and thrown in the dustbin. The leaders there did not realize, did not understand that rule of one particular community is not going to help them at all at any place, right? So the majority community forced its dominance and they refused to share any powers, and that resulted in a civil war that resulted in loads of destruction in the country. Destruction socially also, culturally also, and economically also. There was huge loss, and the civil war came to an end in 2009. Okay, so this was basically the difference between the case of Belgium and the case of Sri Lanka. Okay, now moving forward. So yes, one more important point which can come as a one marker question in your exam, that when many countries of Europe came together, they actually wanted to form a European Union. ठीक है, European Union में क्या होने वाला था, that different countries of the world were to come together and form a union so that actually they could share their powers, they could be more secure otherwise. So Brussels was chosen as their headquarters. So the question that can come from this particular part is the name the European city which was chosen as the headquarters of the European Union. So the answer would be Brussels. Okay, sure. Moving forward. Now, this is another three marker, very important question that can come in your exam. Very frequently asked question, that is, why is power sharing desirable? So there are two reasons why power sharing is desirable. Basically, there are two very different reasons in the favor of power sharing. One is the prudential reason and the other is the moral reasons. We're gonna discuss each of them one by one. Firstly, talking about the prudential reason. So prudential reason was basically to help to reduce the possibility of conflicts. Now see, in a particular nation, there are different social groups. Now all the different social groups that were available, yeah, that were present, were to be respected, right? And they were to be treated equally, and then only the possibility of conflicts between them would be reduced. So that is the prudential reason. So talking about the prudential reason, it said that social conflict leads to violence, right? And not just violence, not just marpitai, it also leads to political instability in their country, right? And with power sharing, this can be sorted, this can be resolved, and we can ensure that there is political stability, political order in the country. Only imposing the will of the majority will not suffice anything. It will rather undermine the unity of the nation. That is not going to be successful. If we only look towards what the majority of the community wants, it is not gonna give any good to the society. Rather, there should be equal distribution of powers, and there should be equal opportunities for both the communities, be it majority or minority. And the next reason is the moral reason. So it says that power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. So with this statement also can come. They can give you the statement as a question that power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. Justify this statement. Again, this can also be asked in your exam. So in that, you would have to explain the entire moral reason. Okay, sure. So what is it basically? The moral reason talks about the values, the ethics, and what does they say? That people have the right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. The people have the authority that they, if they want to get their desires, their aspirations fulfilled, they have the entire authority for that. They should actually tell the government of how they want to be governed. Definitely, the government has to take a call of what is good for the people and what is not good for the people, but that should be according to the desires and according to the will of the people. Any government, legitimate government, a legal, a proper government, a democratic government that is formed is where the citizens, through the participation, acquire a state in the system. Now, you talk about any democratic government. Have you ever seen a democratic government without the participation of the people? No, right? Because a democratic government is of the people, for the people, and by the people. So basically, there should be utmost participation by the citizens of the country to form a legitimate, a democratic government. Okay? Now, moving forward, then there are different forms of power sharing. So basically, जो powers होती हैं, they can be shared among different organs of the government. ठीक है? They can be shared. The powers can be shared at different levels of the government amongst different social groups. We have very many social groups in the society, and then they also need to be shared amongst the different political parties, pressure groups, and movements as well. So we're gonna study all four of these in great detail one by one. Okay, so सबसे पहले let's understand the basics of it. Basically, what is the basic principle of a democracy? That people should be the source of all the political powers. That people should be actually, deciding on to who is gonna represent them in the government, who all would be the members of the government, who all would actually be, ruling them, right? So it was the people who were the decision makers, who were the deciders. And like I just said, the government had to be of the people, for the people, and by the people. So basically, log kya chahte hain? People want to be ruled. Agreed. People want to be ruled, but they want to rule themselves through institutions, right? And a good democratic country, if you talk of a good democratic country, that only comes when the government gives due respect to the different groups, the different social groups that are present in the community, not disregarding any particular minority community, or not giving more preference to the majority community. Rather, everybody should be equal in the eyes of law. Everybody should be given equal representation. They should be understood, and they should be respected. They should be heard, right? Everyone should have a voice in shaping the public policies, and the government should also be creating those policies which would actually benefit all the people, which are for the welfare of the entire society and not just one particular community. Okay, sure. So basically, in modern democracies, we have four forms of power sharing. First is the horizontal power sharing, which is basically sharing the powers between the different organs of the government. Then is vertical power sharing, which shares the powers with the different levels of the government. Then is sharing the powers with the different social groups. And last but not the least is sharing of the powers between different pressure groups and movements. So first of all, talking about the horizontal power sharing. Now, horizontal. Think about a horizontal line. This is a horizontal line. Now, this horizontal line basically has three organs. We have the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Now, since they are at the same level, okay, they are at the same level. So, all these organs of the government have equal amounts of powers. Definitely, they have different functionaries, they have different tasks. The legislature actually makes all the laws. Executive executes and implements the laws which are made by the legislature, and then finally comes the judiciary. Now, judiciary is basically the entire system of courts. System of courts, say I mean all the Supreme Court, High Court, District Court, Civil Court, all the courts actually come under judiciary. So basically, in the horizontal power sharing, this basic distribution, it allows the different levels, different organs of the government to be placed at the same level. All of them are at the same level. They have limited powers, but they exercise different powers. They have different functionaries, different tasks, and nobody actually interferes in the tasks of the other organ. Okay? There is proper separation of the powers. So there is proper separation, and along with that, each organ keeps a check on the other organ so that they actually do not misuse their powers, and that is the reason they are known as system of checks and balances. Okay, so now because every organ keeps a check on one another, there is a balance of powers between various institutions. So this system of checks and balances can also be asked to you as a one marker question in the paper, that each branch means each organ, they check the powers of the other branches so that none of them is using their powers in the wrong manner. They are not misusing their powers, and they make sure that the powers are balanced between them. So this was about the horizontal power sharing. Next, we talk about vertical power sharing. Now think of a vertical line. Vertical line. Now vertical line basically has different levels of government, and in the different levels of government, central government tops the chart. ठीक है, so पहले the first level of the government is the central government or the union government, then comes the state government, and then comes the local government. ठीक है, so basically all the different powers are all the different powers are shared by these three levels of government. Not all the powers are concentrated with the central government or state government or local government. Basically, powers are divided, and the state government is no longer subordinate to the central government. State government has independent powers, and state government need not keep asking the central government of what decisions are to be taken for their respective states. Okay, and talking about the local government actually comes under the state government, because see, talking of a country like India, now India is a very diverse country. We have so many different nations, so many towns, so many different rural areas, countrysides. So it becomes very difficult for one particular state to actually administer thousands of villages that come under them. So they thought of sharing their powers with another tier of government, that was the local government. So in the villages, local government has panchayat, okay, which basically has gram sabha, gram panchayat, panchayat samiti, mandal, and in the towns, etc., we have municipality. Okay, so all the powers are in the local government are basically shared by the panchayat and the municipality. Towns में municipality होती है और villages के अंदर पंचायत होती है. Then the powers are also shared amongst different social groups. Now we have so many different social groups existing, prevailing in our country. There are so many different religions being followed in the country. We have Hinduism, Muslims, Christians, Buddhism, Jainism. So many different social groups are present there. So many different linguistic groups are present there. In a country like India, we have so many different languages. Basically, the person of each respective state speaks a different language. So there are many linguistic groups also present in the country, and the powers should be shared between the different social groups also. Not any one particular religion or one particular community should be given all the powers. For example, you take the case of Belgium. There was a community government. Now, why was that community government formed? To actually share powers between the different linguistic groups. Then we also have reserved constituencies in the assemblies and the parliament of the country, so that every particular community is given equal representation in the government. We have reserved seats for SCs, for scheduled castes, for scheduled tribe, for women, for other backward classes, and that is what, that is sharing the powers. Okay, and last but not the least, that powers are also shared amongst the different political parties. We have very many political parties, right? Now, see, if all the powers just remain in the hands of one political party, so what will happen in the longer run? In the longer run, there would be, huge conflicts between the different political parties that are present, right? So, and sometimes what happens? Sometimes sharing powers can be direct also between the two parties, and that is called collision. Okay, so what happens? See, one particular party wants to form the government. Elections are held. Okay, elections are held, but no particular party could actually acquire majority of the seats which are required for forming the government. So what happens, that two different political parties come together, they join hands, and they form the government together by sharing their powers. So that way, a lot of things happen. Firstly, not all the powers are concentrated in the hands of just one political party. Powers are shared between two different political parties, so there is no dominance of one particular party, right? So both the political parties sit together, make all the decisions, they discuss, they act accordingly, with which the country would benefit, which would be great for the welfare of the entire country. Okay, next आता है power shared amongst different pressure groups in social movement. So what are basically pressure groups? See, whenever we want to raise a voice against anything, what do? We form associations, we form unions, like lawyers. All the lawyers would come together and form a lawyer union. All the doctors would come together and form a doctor union. So group of people who are actually organizing actively, and organizing an association actively for promoting one particular common interest, or for defending one particular common interest, which would actually cater your needs and desires in the society. That's called a pressure group. So basically, if you recall the farmers protest, what happened? For all the farmers of different regions of the country, they came together and they actually raised their voice against something that they did not agree to in the government, with the government, right? So they formed a pressure group for a common interest. They were promoting and defending a common interest. Okay? So in a democracy, there are various pressure groups that organize a lot of popular struggles to protest against something, yeah, to protest against a decision with which they do not agree. Okay? And that is the very essence of democracy, right? In a democracy, people actually have the power to go against the decisions of the government. If they do not agree to any particular decision of the government, they can definitely raise their voice and go against it, right? They can put a pressure on the government to influence their decision, and if the government would feel that it is wrong, then the government takes the necessary actions to change those particular decisions also. Okay, so that is it, and with this we're done with the complete chapter. and I've also discussed the most important questions that can be, approximately 5-7 questions only can be framed from this particular chapter that would be there short in your exams. One of the questions that we had discussed, you will definitely see them in your exam. Okay, so watch the video very carefully. I have discussed all the most important pointers and questions in the video itself, so that you can take the maximum possible benefit out of it. So that is it. And Unacademy has come up with an amazing new feature, that is Ask a Doubt. So if you guys have any queries, you can raise them anytime and anywhere. You will get instant solutions to it within a period of 10 to 15 minutes. You will be given the solutions. Now this particular feature is live for maths and sciences for now, but very soon we will also make it for social science and English. So all that you guys need to do is to download the Unacademy learning app. After downloading, you will be asked to put a invite code. Invite code has to be DM live. This is my code. Okay, now with this particular code, you will be able to access all the different contents that are there in the learning app. So what you have to do, basically, now you've downloaded the Unacademy learning app, you have chosen your goal, and then you have to click on Ask a Doubt. Now when you click on Ask a Doubt, you just simply have to take the picture of your doubt. Now make sure that the doubts are not handwritten. Okay, they are in a printed format, and make sure that you do not send 10-15 doubts in just one picture. Click one picture for one particular doubt and send it, and your query will be definitely resolved. Okay, and uske saath saath, for those of you who have not downloaded the Telegram app, quickly go download the Telegram app and join the 9th and 10th group of Unacademy with livedaily.me/chat, wherein you guys will be notified for each and everything, for the various sessions taken up by various educators for all the different subjects. Everything is updated there on the Telegram app. Uske saath saath, you people can also take up the subscription platform where you guys can take up the plan that suits you people the most, that you guys can afford, be it 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, and you can use the code DM Live. Now DM Live is my referral code with which you guys can get an instant discount of 10%. Instant discount of 10%, and if you go with the 9th and 10th combined subscription, you will get 20% discount. So isn't that a steal deal, people? Yes, we have amazing features on the platform, line by line, word to word, each and everything will be covered. We will also have live doubt clearing sessions, test series, analysis. There are very many things that you guys can get your hands on, and you people can also take up the iconic subscription. Now iconic subscription has a lot more features added. You will get a personalized mentor for all the different subjects which you would want to study from. We basically have the best of educators across the country under one roof, under one platform, that is the Unacademy platform. So do not delay, jaldi se aa jao. New session, academic session, is about to begin, and we are about to launch amazing various courses on the platform. So you would also have a creative corner wherein you would get your hands on a lot of different activities like painting, doodling, sketching, magic. You can have an access to all this by just purchasing the subscription and using my code, that is DM Live. इस code से आपको मिल जाएगा maximum possible discount. It is 10% for now, but जो भी changes आते रहेंगे, I will keep you guys updated and informed. So that is it for the day. Do not forget to like the video, share the video with all your friends so that they can also benefit from it, and go subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon to receive all the updates by various educators. Okay, so I will see you in the next class. Till then, bye guys, take care, love you. So your educator signing off, and I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.